What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, I'm Melissa. So today is a very different kind of video. This is actually my very first monthly wrap-up video. I don't want to do the intro that's too long because we have quite a few movies to get through. But as you can tell by the title, I will be wrapping up and ranking the movies that I watched in January of this year and February. Keep in mind that I will only be ranking the 2025 movies that have been released. And I actually have reviewed all of the movies on this list except for one. I'm looking at my list right now. So I'm going to try to not go into too much depth and insight in this video because I've already done full-on videos for all of these movies except for one of them. If you are watching this and you are thinking to yourself, wait, I want to hear why she thinks this or said this about that movie, you can get that answer by checking out the video for that. I have made a playlist. It is a 2025 movie review playlist that is right here on the channel. So I made it for your convenience. Super simple to find that. And then you could see my insights and my deeper thoughts into the movies. Coming in at number 9, we have Presence. Yeah, it's dead last because I did not like this movie. And from what I have seen on the cinephile interwebs is some people appreciate this a lot more than I did, and some people did not like this movie at all. I can appreciate new concepts, and that's what kind of keeps me going to the theater to watch things that are not typical, Marvels or Star Warses, are fresh and new ideas. So I liked the concept of this where the movie is taking place from the POV of the ghost. But having said that, because it's a POV type of thing, I knew there was a chance that I may not be into this. And not only did I not really like the content of this movie actually kind of made me nauseous. And I wonder if anybody else is kind of sensitive to motion sickness and felt the same. If you guys did, please let me know down in the comments because I felt nauseous while watching this a lot of the times just because of the way it's filmed. And it is astounding to me that a movie that is under 90 minutes, which I praise and I wished more and more movies would do this because it feels like so many of them are over 2 hours now, but this movie is under 90 minutes and I still felt like a lot of this was a boring slog. I felt bored a lot of the times while I was watching this. I felt like it just didn't really pace well for me at all. And like I said, if you want to find out more of my criticisms of this movie, you can go check out that video. Coming in at number 8 is the one movie that I did not do a video on for this channel, and that is Captain America 4 Brave New World. I didn't do a video, you guys, because I feel just wildly not qualified at this point. Marvel, and I think there have been people out there who have had the same criticisms, is that it feels like a lot of homework. They have so many, I think the MCU now has, I think they have over 30 films. Please correct me if I'm wrong kindly in the comments. And then they also have all their TV shows on Disney Plus. I have only seen WandaVision and I have seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But that was a while ago. Do I have to rewatch? This required me to rewatch that season, to maybe watch recap videos. I didn't do that. Maybe I should have. Maybe that's on me. But then this movie also relied on you to remember a 2008 little movie called The Incredible Hulk, which I think that movie has some fans, but it clearly wasn't that successful because there has never been another Hulk movie after that. I don't like that the MCU requires so much of homework from you. You have to watch so many things, and maybe some people, the Marvel diehards out there, are okay with that, and maybe even some casual fans are like, well, that's what Marvel has always been, and the MCU, that's how it's been. Maybe, but that doesn't mean that I have to be in and like it. And after watching this movie, I felt like I think Marvel is just no longer for me, and I consider myself a casual fan. I haven't read the comics, but I've enjoyed some of the movies and some other shows. The only other show that I have loved is Jessica Jones, and I told myself, I think I'm done with Marvel until they bring back Jessica Jones. I think that is going to happen because that is a popular character. It was a good Netflix show. So I think I'm just going to wait for that. And I think the only reason why it's not dead last is because I will give Captain America 4 credit for some good performances. I think Anthony Mackie is good in this. It's not his fault why this movie is just not that great. And it was cool seeing a red Hulk. Coming in at number 7, we have Wolfman. So I found myself actually just a little bit more appreciative and more lenient on this film than most people. Whenever I saw reviews and comments online, a lot of people were disappointed in this movie. Maybe if you are watching this, you're one of the people who were disappointed in it. And I hear the criticisms, and I even talked about them in my video as to why maybe you probably won't like this, because it's not what you would think it's going to be if you were looking for just like a full-on werewolf horror movie. You know, it's if you're thinking about like the werewolf and underworld, you're not gonna get that. But I appreciated the concept, right? Because this movie is actually quite a tragedy. It is a pretty depressing story of generational trauma. And I think the movie has really cool visuals in it. Whenever the, huge transformation happens in this film, it is done in a way where I can't really think how it's been done before when we think of like a werewolf film. And I had also praised the sound design of this. You can hear the sounds in the house. You can hear the woods outside. You can hear all the footsteps. And I thought all of that was really well done. So I'm not going to shit on this the way that other people have, because I still think it's worth seeing. Even if you're just like mildly curious. I can't promise that you will walk away loving it, but you might be like me and appreciate it. Okay, you might appreciate more than you just blatantly dislike it. And if you want more of my thoughts, as I said, go ahead and watch that video. Coming in at number 6 was a movie that was kind of disappointing to me, and that is The Monkey. The Monkey is made by the same dude who made Longlegs, which is Oz Perkins. And Longlegs is a movie that I appreciated more upon rewatch. So I was definitely curious about watching The Monkey. I think this director is somebody that definitely has my attention. Even if I don't always love the execution of his movies, there are still some things in there that make me appreciate the experience. Like with The Monkey, I really appreciated the visuals. I really enjoy his visual style. He definitely has a strong voice with that. But I think for me, it just came off too cartoonish, if that makes sense. If you've seen the movie, then you may know what I'm talking about. This movie is incredibly bloody and gory and wild, and I understand that is the point. I get the point, but I just think that it didn't really balance well enough if we're talking about the horror elements and the comedy elements. It just, the tone shifts felt too abrupt for me. That the dry humor a lot of the times just kind of fell flat. It just wasn't really working for me. So far, in Q1 of this year, we have already seen several horror comedies and several horror comedies that try to blend other genres. And I think other movies that I will talk about later from this list have pulled it off a lot better than The Monkey. I think if you are into very dry humor and if you want to just see very outlandish kills that make absolutely no natural sense, then you might appreciate The Monkey. That movie may be for you. Coming in at number 5 is The Gorge. The Gorge is an Apple original movie right from the streaming services, which I usually tend to not really take the time to check out because the quality from streaming services for movies just aren't always the best. All right, don't fight me. We all know it's true. But this was getting quite a bit of buzz, and I saw some reviews of people really enjoying this. So it made me curious, especially since I heard that it was blending a lot of different genres. It was part action, horror, romance, and that made me very curious. And then also has actors that I really enjoy, which are Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller. And I'll say this, for the first half of this movie, I was in. I was really enjoying the character work from Miles Teller. I feel like I hadn't seen him in a movie in a really long time, or maybe I just have missed them. So I really enjoyed what he was doing with his character in that. I just feel like you see a lot of depth in his eyes when it's just like silent. I think he was very fantastic in this. And, once you hear stories about these two snipers that are guarding the potential gates of hell, like that sounds hella interesting. And once we see some of the, I will say, elements that come out of that gorge, I think it happens in the first scene when they kind of like come out and the snipers have to kind of like figure out what the heck to do. I was riveted. Okay, I was at the edge of my seat. I was like, I want to see what these monsters look like. This is all working for me, yada yada yada. This is all fun. And then the second half begins, and then it just starts kind of spiraling and devolving and getting into a little bit more slowish and like boring territory for me. So I think the issue with this, I think the movie has trouble just keeping up the pace of that. It was kind of like a lull for me. And the highlight of this movie for me actually was the score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. I loved it so much so that I ended up looking up the score on Spotify, and I kept listening to it afterwards because it is so good. If you guys have not heard the score, do yourself a favor and go look it up on Spotify. It is so good. That duo, like, you understand why they have 2 Oscars. Coming in at number 4 is the drama I'm Still Here. So I checked this out because I know that Brazil is writing so hard for this movie. Okay? So hard, and with good reason. This is such a good movie. I am so happy that I watched it because I think it is a movie that is so important. How many times can I say movie? If you guys haven't heard of it, please do yourself a favor and go check it out. This is a story about a family that is living under a dictatorship, and one day the father of this family is visited by these military men. They take him in for questioning, and then the family never ever see him again. Okay, now at the time that I saw this movie, I had been binging quite a few horror films, and then I watched this and I was like, this is also frightening. This is just as frightening, if not more frightening, because this is real. This really happened to a family, and I just cannot imagine living like that. But that is what happened, and that is what life had been like for them. The main actress of this movie is nominated for an Academy Award, and once you watch the film, you completely understand why. She blows it out of the water. This movie is beautifully shot. It is beautifully acted. That family, like, watching it almost felt like you were watching a documentary. They felt real. They felt like real mother and father. They felt like real siblings when they're just kind of like playing with each other and bickering and having dinner together. It is so well performed. It is such a good drama and important. There are parts that I even shed a few tears. It is something that I probably would not choose to rewatch anytime soon. Maybe I would down the line when my heart and soul is ready to take all those emotions in again. But I think it's so worth your time. If you haven't seen I'm Still Here yet, what are you doing? Living under a rock? Go and watch it. Coming in at number 3 is One of Them Days. So one thing about me is I am not the girl that really goes and seeks comedy films to watch. I have always been that way. I don't know why. Of course, there's exceptions, okay? There have been a few comedies over the, decades that I've been on Earth that I have enjoyed. But I saw this one getting more and more buzz, and I saw it was getting good reviews. So that made me curious, to be honest. So I went to go check it out and then decided to do a review on it because I thought it was so good. Watching this reminded me again and made me upset as to why Keke Palmer's not... she is so multi-talented. Okay, she is a great speaker, she's an actress, good in comedy and drama, she can sing her face off, she's a podcast host. Like, why are we what if there's any Hollywood execs watching this video from my tiny little channel watching this, can you answer me that question? Comment below why. She's so good. Her and SZA play these friends that go on these wild adventures throughout, I think, 24 hours in LA as they're trying to figure out how they're going to get money to pay their rent, because SZA's character, she gives it to her boyfriend, and her boyfriend ends up doing her dirty and using it for some business that he's trying to set up. But then, of course, you shouldn't have done that. So now the girls need to figure out how we're going to pay this rent. And I think the script does a great job of setting up all these scenarios that is moving the plot forward, that is also bringing us a lot of laughter because they just get into these ridiculous situations. And at the end of the day, it has a lot of heart because it is about how they're getting through this together and trying to survive like everyday people, just trying to figure out how they're going to live. The 2-in-1, I kept trying to thinking about, these are really neck and neck. Like on any, if you ask me tomorrow, and I might switch them 2-in-1. I had a hard time, but I had to make a decision because this is a ranking video. But coming in at number 2 is Companion. Companion is a movie that is another genre blender. It is a dark comedy. It is sci-fi. There's also some romance. And it also has something to say. It is speaking about abusive relationships. So trigger warnings for that. But I think this is done in a very entertaining way because it uses that dark humor. This is a movie, when I finished watching it and I got back in my car to do my review, I did my review and I was having a hard time thinking of like criticisms to say about it. I had a hard time thinking about, okay, what is it that they could have done better? What is something that I can kind of like nitpick? But I had a hard time, and I actually gave it a really high score. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5. Now, having said that, if I rewatch it, I think I probably can spot some things, most likely. But whatever. For now, it's a 5 out of 5. I remember the first thing that stood out to me as I was watching this was the script. Like, you are never bored. This is another short one. I think it's like 90 or 90 something minutes. And the entire time I was completely engaged. I was never bored. I was having a blast. My eyes were on the screen and I was like leaning in because I was like, I just want more of this. I want to see what's going to happen next. It is this sci-fi film about this love robot that this guy is using to try to pull off this heist and this murder because, you know, he's a good upstanding guy in his mind and he deserves nice things. So like, of course he's going to jailbreak his love sex robot and, you know, frame her for murder. Who gives a flying fuck? And then things get really, really hairy. But I also credit this movie for making me sympathize with the robot. I think that's what made it feel just a little bit different. I haven't seen something quite like this in quite some time. And I think that is one of the most horrifying things. Iris, who's played by Sophie Thatcher, when she realizes what is happening to her and what is being done to her, she's just mortified and horrified, and I really felt bad for her. So I give this movie props for that. It was just kind of like bringing up these new ideas. If you haven't seen Companion yet, please do yourself a favor. I think now it is on video on demand. It is such a good movie. I can't wait to hear more people's thoughts on it. Coming in at number 1, you may have guessed it. Guess it before I say it down in the comments, and then do a little timestamp. It's Hard Eyes. It is. This is another genre blend. It is a horror comedy, but this one is a rom-com, you guys. So I was struggling to figure out how I was going to rank 1 and 2 because it was neck and neck between Companion and Hard Eyes. And I actually have more criticisms about Hard Eyes after I finished that one. That one was not a 5 out of 5. If you want to find out my score for that one, go ahead and watch that video, please. But at the end of the day, look, I go with feeling. It is not about perfection for me. And I just truly cannot think of the last time that I have seen a rom-com slasher. We have had horror comedies over the last few years and over the decades. We have had horror movies that have had some romance. It's just, we have had, you know, spoofs like with the scary movies. But this movie, you guys, is a legit rom-com. And I'm talking about it hits all the beats. You have the meet cute. You have the flirty banter. You have the little trope where like they start off on the wrong foot and then they eventually, you know, it grows to love. You have the almost kisses. You even have a scene here where somebody falls on top of somebody by accident. And all those may sound like cliches, but cliches and tropes are there for a reason. Okay, they are plot devices. And just because we see things that are familiar, it doesn't mean that they're automatically bad. You know, it's about how they're written. It is a rom-com movie that is inside a slasher film. And I understand for some people who are slasher fanatics, that's kind of what holds them back from loving this, where they would have preferred a slasher movie inside a rom-com. Is that the same thing that I just said? I'm not sure. Now we're getting a little confused with the genre blending, but I think you know what I mean. I'm going to go with you. I think you know what I mean. I think why I ranked it number 1 is because it feels the most unique. And I think it would be such a shame if we didn't get more Hard Eyes movies. I think this has so much potential to create a whole new franchise. I know there have been Valentine slasher movies done in the past. I'm not really a big fan of any of them. I know there's Bloody Valentine. I think this is gonna be, and oh, I should mention, this is the only movie on my list that I have rewatched. That's right. I went back to the theater so I could watch it again because I was just in the mood to go on this crazy, non-realistic, fantastical, romantic slasher time. This is what the movies are about for me. I like to go in there and just escape, okay? It's these types of movies where they take risks that makes me excited about films. People are always complaining about everything's a remake, a reboot, and requel, and that's because those make a lot of money. So we need to go out there and support these original stories. A reminder, I have more in-depth thoughts and insights as to what I think of all these movies, all of them except for Captain America 4. There's a playlist on my channel. Check them out. And I can't wait to see what March brings us. There'll be a lot of March goodies, and then we'll have a lot of April goodies. If you guys went out to the movies in January and February, please let me know your favorites down below. Leave me your ranking. I'm so excited to hear about it. Thank you guys so much for joining me in my movie watching adventures. Please go ahead and subscribe if you like my content. Hit the like button. It really helps me out, and I'll catch you guys next time.